Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. Today, we want to discuss the one of the um, methods that are used in the psychology world, and I'm sad to say, even used in the uh, Jewish world by Rabbanim and things like that to deal with husbands and wives that aren't getting together so well. We're gonna say the method, and then we're going to look into our holy sages and into the ancient wisdom of Judaism, of how God created the world and how the nature that he was mutba, that he put into man and that he put into woman. Remember, a woman only exists because as a woman does exist is not just because God created her, but it's also because Adam gave one of his ribs to create her. If he didn't want her, she wouldn't have been created. So women have to learn to be thankful. Instead of being a thorn in a man's side and his thigh and his rib, whatever you want to, women have to learn to be an azer, a help, just like the rib. The ribs protect the body, it holds it up. So too, that's what a woman's there, to be caring, empathetic, deep love, understanding, not controlling, not commanding, not bossy, not what you considered bossy. If the man thinks that you're being bossy, stop. If he doesn't want you to use certain words, don't use them to him. You understand? For instance, some men would very much like, instead of you asking, how was your day, just to say, it's good to see you. Don't be stubborn and refuse to do that. Understand? Be a compliment. Listen. You understand? He's not asking you to jump off a building. You understand? Okay. Okay, so a husband and wife, they come to a therapist or to a rabbi, whatever it may be, and they ask, and they're saying they're having whatever issue it may be. It could be issue between them. It could be an issue about how the husband's saying he's being too harsh on the son, and the husband's, that's what the wife's saying, and the husband's saying, no, you listen, I'm a boy, I understand. I'm a man, I understand boys better, and he needs stronger discipline. You understand? So it could be an issue about that, whatever it may be. You understand? They come to you, and they come and they ask. So the very common method that is used is since women today, especially, they have this attitude of putting all the cards on the table, and men don't automatically put all the cards on the table. Men are starting to learn what women do, and they're starting to do that. You understand? Uh, you know, uh, uh, but I'm talking about naturally. A man doesn't put all his cards at the table. He surmises the situation, and he decides which cards to put on the table. You understand? A woman, to get her way, she puts all the cards on the table. Everything. To try to force that you should say she's right, to force her will, act. You understand? So that is how a woman acts. Now she could go a different route, which would make her a good woman, and that is empathetic. You understand? Submissive. You understand? But unfortunately, most women today, Amakroy and the husband's kedusha is what they're taught in the schools. Forget about it in the Goyish world, and women have gone the dark path, the dark way. Now, if the woman's still young and not corrupted in a deep way, So there is a method that she sits and, lays it down, or you just feel her aura, like that of a viper. You understand? Like if you don't say I'm right, if you do not say do what I say, then there's going to be an attack. That's the aura that she's giving off. People understand. This is how women work. You understand? People have experienced it before. They see her eyes is bulging out. They see her attitude. You understand? The halo, you could feel someone's presence. You could feel what they're giving off. Especially when they say something. But even without saying something, you could feel them. You understand? So. So what so the person who's trying to make peace between husband and wife, trying to make peace, fix the scenario, this and that, he knows that if let's say the scenario is that she's wrong and he's right. I mean, there could be many scenarios. She's right, he's wrong, he's right, he's right, she's wrong, they're both wrong, they're both partially right. There's many scenarios, right? But let's just take a clear-cut scenario. He's right, she's wrong. They know in order to get her to see his view, you understand, and hopefully go and hopefully listen, they first have to say to the woman, to the wife, you're right. And now all that pent up explosion bombs, atom bombs that were inside of her that she was going to throw if you said something else, she lets go. And then you have conversation, and in the conversation, you bring it out that he's right. You understand? You switch it in the course of conversation. Now, this is actually a very ingenious way that is used. Not everybody even knows this, you understand? But I'm just saying this is from people that are wise, they use this. And the question is this a good method? Is this a good method? So that's what we're, so we want to look into ancient Jewish wisdom, understanding how God created man, how he created a woman, and how everything works, and to see if this is a good method, or is there a different method that would be far better? You understand? So that's the question. That's the question. Okay. Now, just to go back to the scenario, there is, when a woman isn't completely liberalized, feminized, completely amachra in the husband's kedusha, when she's still very young and the ideas haven't completely taken her over. So when she puts all her cards on the table, she could either double down. Let's say when you say she's wrong, she could either double down and attack, or her empatheticness will then come out. I mean, better late than never, right? But then her empatheticness will come out. And since she put everything on the table, she did that whole exertion, and you still said she's wrong, she'll drop it. Most women today, the way they're trained, they will double down. And this is a sign of women you should not marry. I don't care if she's the Rebbe's daughter, she's the Shiva's daughter, she give full support. I don't care what it is. Stay away until she fixes herself. The sad thing is she doesn't have to be that way. She could be an empathetic, she could be a compliment to a man's life. She could be so special. You understand? She has that in her. She could have that good life, but she was taught to be a monster. So unfortunately, until she realizes that, and as an adult decides to change, which women have a hard time admitting they were wrong, changing these type of things, they have more, For anybody, it's hard, but women have an extra hard time. They have to put extra effort in when they're young to make sure that the ideas that they have are correct. You understand? And to fix her incorrect ideas. If she wants to be part of the 3%, which we'll get to soon, which I mentioned in my last year, if she wants to be part of the 3% that actually have good lives. You understand? And hopefully women changing themselves and fixing the system, that 3% will grow. You understand? Will become 4, 5, 6. It will keep on growing with God's help. Now, getting back to our scenario. So that is the method. And when you look at the method, going back to, the method that we discussed before. So when you're looking at the method, it seems ingenious, right? You say she's right, so she doesn't explode. And then you have conversation, and through conversation, at the end of the conversation, he's right. You understand? Without you saying it, but that's what happens. In the scenario that he's right. You understand? Obviously. Ingenious, right? It seems ingenious. It seems like a very good method. And it seems perfect, right? Here's the issue. And of course, we're not just going to say something's an issue and not give you a way to go about it. We're going to accomplish both according to ancient Jewish wisdom. And the beauty of ancient Jewish wisdom is its wisdom applies to everybody. You understand? It applies. If something doesn't apply, if something specifically applies to Jews, then ancient Jewish wisdom would say that it specifically applies to Jews. You understand? But other than it's saying that, it applies to everybody. You understand? So, for instance, the ancient Jewish wisdom would say 7 laws apply to everybody, and Jews have 613. You understand? They have a lot more laws, but those laws don't apply to you. It applies to a Jew. You understand? And that you understand? So it will differentiate when yes, when no. So here we're talking about universal ancient Jewish wisdom that could be used by a Jew or someone that's not a Jew, which would be very wise to use because ancient Jewish wisdom is the only true source of wisdom. So it would be wise to learn it and heed, to its wisdom from God. This is the Jews have been keeping the books of God from being destroyed and forgotten and lost in time since the beginning of time. You understand? Either orally or written down. You understand? They've been keeping it. Okay, so here is the issue. And this goes into a deep psychology of a man and a woman. A woman, in order for her to not be disgusted by a man, to want to have intimacy with her, that for a woman to really want a man, to be pining for him, to yearn for him, you understand? In order for that to happen, she needs to deeply respect the man. If she loses, to the extent that she loses respect for the man, especially if she loses complete respect for the man, it ruins her desire, her deep desire for him. So the more less respect she has for a man, it comes to a certain point when she is disgusted by him. You understand? And when a woman reaches that point, it's very hard to turn it around. If you catch it before that point, there's a good chance you could fix it. But once a woman reaches disgust, it's a woman. very hard to change it around. Even if the woman wants to change it around, she has a it's practically impossible for her to change it. You understand? It will require tremendous effort for her to change that. Okay. However, at the same note, a man can have a deep love and want for his wife, even though he doesn't respect her. Now, we're not talking about that he doesn't respect her because she's doing infidelity. That's not what we're discussing. We're talking about like the way we're not talking about that. We're talking about how a woman looks up at the man, respects him, his intelligence, and so on. If a man doesn't respect the man doesn't need to respect the woman. Of course, it would be a good thing, but he doesn't have to respect the woman's intelligence. I mean, don't disrespect it at the same time. But if, let's say, the woman, she doesn't have a good intelligence, she doesn't, not every woman has one. Not every man has good intelligence. She doesn't have a good intelligence. A man could marry her and say, my power is intellect, so I'll take care of that. You understand? But a woman has a very hard time marrying someone that doesn't have good intellect because she doesn't have that ability. Her ability is feeling, empathy. Hopefully she brings it out in a good way and not in a bad way. But that's her ability. You understand? So she needs you to have the ability of intellect. You understand? That she could respect you. So if you don't have it, a woman has a very hard time marrying you. And therefore, of course, it's important, first of all, for you yourself, but especially when it comes to marriage, to become wise. Learn Chayvus Alavavas 4 times. Learn Arkas Sadiqim 4 times. Learn Mishlei 4 times. Learn the Sfarim of Rabbi Saul Salanter 4 times. Become wise. Learn Sefer Hamada from the Rambam 4 times. Become wise. So, if a man sees that a woman's, he can't, really respect her intellect. But he could love her deeply, even though she doesn't have that. Of course, as long as she's a nice person and understands that he is that respects his intellect. You understand? He could you could have a happy marriage, a blissful marriage. You understand? So so when a woman's in this aspect of respect, when it's affected by a woman, this intellect aspect of respect, when it's affected by a woman, a man could still love her the same, as long as, of course, she doesn't turn cynical and destructive, self-destructive, which is very common for women. They just self-destruct themselves, you understand? Unfortunately, because they refuse to accept their being. The only way that they are anything is if they could do better what a man does. This feminism, this nonsense. They don't respect their abilities, their God-given abilities. And this is a grave sin that she's doing to herself and very destructive. Learn what your God-given abilities are and hone them and become good at them and marry a good husband. Okay. So now, the issue is, when she loses respect for her husband, each time it's chipped off, more of it's taken off, more of it taken off. This every bit that's taken off of her respect towards her husband is extremely detrimental to the marriage. Extremely detrimental. And eventually it comes to a point when she is disgusted by him. That's why a husband has to be careful to be in a good place where the women aren't feminists, liberal feminists, purple demons, you understand? A good holy place. Because, if you're in a bad place, your women will get bad friends and they will put you down. And it will ruin the connection if you stay married, and a very good chance that you will get divorced because she's around bad people. Very important. A good atmosphere. You want good, as much as good you can. Good atmosphere, good neighbors, good this, good that, good laws, and the good laws in the in that state. All of them have bad, but to the best that you could get, you understand? Good. Good role models. Not some her role models shouldn't be some movie star, that's kissing all these women in all these movies, even though he's married. That's not that should not be, what she should not be watching movies, and neither should you. Okay, good holiness. You understand? Now we can understand the issue. Even though this method seems genius, it's a genius way to maneuver. Like Trump now. They have a path that they cleared where there aren't mines, and they tell the boat go 2 knots this way, 1 knot that way, and they avoid the bomb. So it's a brilliant way to maneuver the bomb of when she puts down all her cards. You understand? To maneuver it. It's a genius way to maneuver it. The problem is that you have to get rid of that bomb. You have to get rid of that mine. Why? You cannot maneuver it in this way. Why? Because when the woman hears people saying, especially if it's the therapist you went to, or even more so if it's the Rav or Rebbitzin you went to, and the Rav and the Rebbitzin is saying that that he's wrong and she's right. So although for a few days she might be all in bliss, wow, the rabbi said I'm right. After that wears off, what happens? She's like, wait a second, my husband was wrong. He's not as smart as I thought he was. She loses respect. And slowly it starts to, each time she's told that she's right, it slowly chips off until it comes to a point of disgust. So you won the battle, but you lost the war. You understand? Of course, it's not the best analogy, but just to bring out the idea, Shabbat. You understand? You're like, well, now I said she's right, so now this and that, yeah. Now she calmed down, yes, but later on she's going to resent the husband because she's going to say, what type of husband do I have? You understand? She's not going to respect him. He should have been right. You understand? Even though at that moment, a day ago, when they went to the rabbi, if the rabbi said that he was right, she would have exploded. You understand? Or at least she gives off that aura. You better not say that I'm wrong. You better say that I'm right and he's wrong. Otherwise, I will explode. She's giving off that aura. Whether she'll do it or not, that's a different scenario. That's a different, you understand? But that's definitely the aura that she's giving off. Okay? And but the thing about women is since they think through their heart, in their heart they want a man that they could trust their intellect. So even then, the goal there in her heart was not to be wrong, but in a relationship with a man, there what she wants is that the man, that she could respect him. And now that respect was chipped away at. So both could be true at the same time. And she could just keep going, switching between these, forcing the therapist, forcing the rabbi, the Rebbitzin, to say that she's right first, and then later on saying, well, it chips off at her respect at her husband. She could, you understand? A man doesn't have this issue. First of all, because he doesn't mind if the woman, if he has to be the intellect. That respect for intellect, he could take that up. You understand? Because that's who he is. And also because he is intellect, he would realize that opposite thing that he's doing, and he could choose not to be affected by the second, because he understands that he pushed that to happen in the first place. You understand? He's able to do that. She has a very hard time because her power is not intellect, it's feeling. So if she doesn't use it in a good way, she could self-destruct herself because she causes this thing to keep on happening, and it chips away at her respect to a point that she's like, I have to divorce him. I can't live with him anymore. I'm disgusted by him. So therefore, when someone is coming to you for advice, husband and wife, there's strife, they're coming to you for advice, you have to know you cannot say that the husband is wrong. You just can't say that. Because the woman will, after a day or two later, will lose respect for him. Even though, you understand, that's what will happen. Even if he is wrong, right? Let's say he is wrong. You cannot say he's wrong. You could say, let us focus on the future and making a good way to go about it, a good scenario. Let's focus on the future. That's how you talk. You do not act like a child. He's right. He's right. She's wrong. You're right. He's right. You do not get into these petty little things. This is children. You have to say this. If they try to get into, you say, listen, this is children kindergarten. We don't get into that. Let's focus on the future. Okay? Let's focus on the future. And I do not want to in any way get into, you're right, she's wrong, you're right. We don't want to get into that pettiness. We want to focus on the future. Okay? Now, so that's how you would deal with it. Exactly what we just said. That is the true way to deal with it. Okay. Now, since these people came to you for help, you have to be honest with them. If you feel that this woman has this, what we just discussed, like, so you found a different way to maneuver it by saying, we're going to focus on the future. We're not going to talk about the past. We're going to focus on the future and how to go about, how to deal with it, how to go about it. That's where we're going to go. You understand? We're not going to get into petty squabbles about you or me, or you did this part wrong and that part, and in this aspect you're wrong here, you're wrong. We're not going to get into those petty squabbles. We're going to focus on the future. Okay. So that is the correct method to use, because if the husband is put down, it will affect her respect for the husband, and in turn will affect her ability to love and want him. You understand? I see many marriages, most marriages actually, for all time, uh, there was strife between the husband and wife, but they didn't get divorced because they committed to each other. You understand? Especially when there's kids. Once a child's born. You understand? Didn't get divorced. You understand? You commit, they stay committed. Someone's getting beaten, that's a different story. You understand? It's a different story. But outside of that, you committed to each other. You understand? So, in the Gemara, in the Talmud, it says that the Mizbeach, the altar, cries each time there's a divorce. Whether it was a good reason or not, the altar cries. By God, it's a tragedy, a divorce. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty. It's something that he recognizes when it happens. When a leaf blows, that's not on God's, so to speak, on his frontal cortex. You understand? So to speak, kaviyachol. But when a person gets divorced, that's in the frontal cortex. You understand that? That is the focus of God when that happens. He's focused on that. You have to understand that. Don't just get divorced for all these nonsense reasons that people get divorced. You committed to each other. Make things as good as they could be together. Hopefully everything could be fixed. There's never perfection, but hopefully a lot, it could become really good. But sometimes it can't, you understand, and you do the best that it could be. This is what our parents knew. You understand? Our parents didn't go to therapists. Some were part of the 3% that actually stay in love throughout their years. Most of them weren't, but they still stay together. You understand? They understood that just because divorce is an option, and just because there's pain while being married together, it doesn't mean that getting divorced is the better option. In fact, it's almost always going to be the destructive option. It's better to stay together, even though it's not exactly what you dreamed of, than to get divorced to get out of that pain, because more pain will come when you get divorced. Way more pain will come, not just for sure for the man. It's not even a question. But even for the woman. Even for the women hurt themselves. Men see how they treated another man. Your kids see how you acted. They get smart one day. Other people see how you acted. They see the monster within. You understand? And ultimately, even if you fool everybody, you can't fool God. And you're going to go to a world where it's a world of eternity. Here, you live here 80, 90, 100 years. You understand? 120 years maybe. And you leave this world, temporary. And the next world, it's more than 120 years. It's forever. And the way you acted, everybody will see. You understand? You're going to be before the heavenly court, and they're going to see how you acted. Remember that. And then there's not just the embarrassment of them seeing it, of the whole heavenly court seeing it and everybody seeing it, but then there's also the punishment that comes due because of your actions. So just understand that. So now let's get into it a little deeper. So when these people come to you for help and you feel this, you don't feel that empathetic aura, you understand, around the woman. Rather, you feel this controlling, you better say that I'm right, you better not say that he's right. You feel that, you have to be, if they're coming to you for help, you have to say, listen, you came to me, I have to be honest with you. I see this issue, you understand? But I think there's a deeper issue that we need to address. There's a deeper issue. And that, and so sometimes when they came to you, you have to deal with both. Sometimes they came to you with with this frontal issue, but you see that there's a deeper issue. So sometimes you could say, let's put this frontal issue aside. Let's say it doesn't have to be dealt with right now. So you could say, let's focus on the deeper issue and come back to it. Other times, that frontal issue also needs to be taken care of now. So we just said before how to go about that. But at the same time, you have to say, we need to spend not 1 hour, but 2 hours. We need equal time because I see a deeper issue here. You understand? And whether you're working with the woman or you're working with the man, the husband or the wife, you don't have to do it in front of each other. You know that it's embarrassing and like all that. You understand? You take them aside. And preferably if it's a woman, you should have a woman who has this understanding and got out of herself that klipa, that poison of feminism and all that nonsense, that she got it out of herself. She purified herself. And you then, preferably, she should deal with the woman. Many scenarios, it's hard to find a woman like that. You understand? So you need to, and of course, you have to do things in a proper way, that there isn't a shaila of yichud. You have to do things in a way that that you protect yourself from doing, because when you get into very deep with a woman, you understand, she could start turning, she get turned on by you and things like that. You understand? It has to be done in a very professional way for you, and also you have to help her that you know that she's that her husband is her husband. You understand that she's not, uh, you know, show her how not to, start desiring you. First of all, you have to protect yourself when she's desiring you, that you shouldn't do anything, and also to help her that she shouldn't desire you. You understand? And that, so that's another aspect. You have to. Just going to talk about how to help when you're helping a woman, that she should still desire her man, even though she's having these deep conversations with you. You understand? Is you keep pointing out things that her husband did for her. You understand? And the kids that they had together. You keep pointing that out, and that keeps her mind from turning to you. You understand? Okay, so so that is, so we asked the question. This is the answer. This is the method, and this is what a person needs to know. What how, and this is how a person goes about it. And you have to chazer what we just said and play it out in your mind. Speak it as if it's happening, and then hopefully you'll be able to help someone, that needs this expertise. You'll be able to give them this true help, according to ancient Jewish wisdom, that only causes good and no bad. I love you, and Hashem loves you more.